Well, hello and welcome to In the Growth Space. My name is David McGlennon. I'm your host. I am so grateful that you're here with me today. Speaking of grateful, this podcast episode is all about gratitude, and we're going to talk a little bit more about gratitude, about appreciation, and how to do that. You know, here on the podcast, so oftentimes I will have guests on and I'll speak with guests about their growth journey. And it's always great to be able to learn from them. However, there are times like now that I'm just doing this solo, and I'm going to share from some of my own experience and not only just experience that I've had in my own leadership journey, but also with other leaders that I've worked with in my coaching practice. And it's really great to be able to share from that well. And it's really one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about not only just gratitude, but also preparing the next generation of leaders. I think that right now, there in the world, there are so many leaders who are getting ready to hand off to the next generation of leaders. They're getting ready to really get their succession plans in order, and sometimes that happens by default rather than design. And I can even say that from my own experience, because I was a business partner with my dad for 19 years. And I was the quote unquote number two. I was the next gen leader for our company. And then what happened is he died suddenly, and I wasn't prepared. And so I got thrust into that number one position literally overnight. And so I had to learn how to lead without being prepared. And so that's fueled some of my passion, especially for emerging and growing leaders, because I had to go through that. And don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed being a partner with my dad. And my dad taught me so much. He taught me really by allowing me to be in the room with him when he was interacting with other leaders. And so I was able to capture that, from an observation perspective, but I was really never given any formal leadership training and development. I've really had to do it all on my own, and that's okay, but I want to make it easier for others. And I also want to really reiterate the point of how important it is to create a succession plan by design. We're going to be talking with a guest or two in the coming episodes that really is going to help us to see the power of being on purpose and being very intentional with our planning for succession, because we don't want our leaders just to get thrown into the deep end of the pool when something happens suddenly, or we just suddenly decide to leave the business, or and we haven't prepared them for leadership. So a couple of things that I did in my leadership journey is, I joined Toastmasters. I learned how to speak. And then I also went through their leadership development program. They have a leadership track that I went through. I also joined the John Maxwell team a little bit later in my life, and helped begin to grow myself that way. And I think it was on the last episode, or maybe a couple of episodes ago, that I talked about being a lifelong learner. So I did a lot with the Nightingale-Conant catalog. If anybody's listening who is old enough to remember the Nightingale-Conant catalog, they had audio tapes and CDs and programs to help grow leaders and personally develop as well. I did all of that pretty much on my own. But honestly, that's not what this episode is about. But what this episode is about is expressing that gratitude and appreciation and acknowledgement. So this week here in the United States, we're in the Thanksgiving week. So I wanted just to make sure that I took an episode and talk a little bit more about expressing appreciation and gratitude. I'm going to talk about it from two different perspectives. I'm going to talk about it from a personal perspective and then an organizational perspective. And, I know that on a personal level, sometimes depending on your makeup, depending on how you grew up and your programming, certain leaders find it difficult to express appreciation and gratitude. And so I'm going to give you some practical tools today to really help you do more of that, because at the end of the day, everyone really loves to be appreciated. And quite frankly, I love to practice gratitude. One of the ways that I started to practice gratitude was through my journaling practice. I know that I've talked about my journaling practice here on the podcast before, and I think it's really important. And even if you don't practice journaling per se, it's a great way to begin to practice gratitude and shift your mind towards gratitude and towards appreciation. One of the ways that I journal and one of the parts of my ritual of journaling is that I always end my journal session with at least three things that I'm grateful for. And what that does is it honestly just kind of sets my mind on a different level. It sets my mind on a focus of abundance, a focus of appreciation, and a focus of gratitude. And I can't tell you how many times that's changed my attitude for the day. If I've gotten up on the wrong side of the bed, or I've gotten up grumpy, or maybe just not feeling great, when I finish with gratitude, and sometimes it's even just the very simple things of life that I'm grateful for and expressing gratitude for, it makes a big difference. So how do you even start? How do you start practicing gratitude when maybe all you've focused on is scarcity and lack and the negative things of life? Well, let me give you some prompts that may be helpful here today that you could journal on. You could journal on these prompts and really think about just the very simple things, and very practical things, so to speak. And some might even say they're just very elementary, but honestly, it's a great place to start. Just start with the basics. Start with your senses. Whatever senses that you have. If you have your eyesight, be grateful for your eyesight. If you're able to look out a window like I am here as I'm recording this, I can see trees, I can see clouds, I can see a little peak of sun here in the Western Pennsylvania area. But I'm grateful for my eyesight, my hearing. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you have hearing. And so we can be grateful for that. If you think about your senses, it's a place to start. Maybe the fact that you were able to get out of bed today. Sometimes that's a place to start as well. Hey, I got myself out of bed. I'm actually breathing and I have the breath of life today. I'm grateful for that. Those are just some places that you can start. Think about the things that other people may not have. Maybe there are some people that didn't wake up today. And when I think about that, it really makes me grateful for my life and for the breath of life that I get to experience. Let me give you a couple of questions and prompts maybe that might help you in this expression of gratitude and practicing gratitude a little bit more. A great question to start with: what's good in your life right now? When we focus the questions on the positive or generative things in our lives, it yields a different outcome. And it's in the questions that helps us to focus our mind. And so when you think about what's good in your life right now, that'd be a great place to start. Another place to start, and another place that I've often journaled around, is what makes you smile. What's something that really brings joy to your life? That's something to express gratitude for. Who are some people who've positively impacted your life? When I think about the people who've positively impacted my life, I do smile, and I'm really grateful for them because they have impacted me in a way that has enriched my life. And so I'm really grateful for that. If you have a job, what do you appreciate about your job? The things that you get to do, the things that you that bring you fulfillment. I think it's really a great place to start there, appreciating your job and your role. Here's one that maybe is a little bit more general or broad, but where have you seen humanity at its best in the last week or two? Maybe where do you see beauty in the world around you right now? I mentioned that I was looking out the window. I've seen some birds flying around, and that's really beautiful. The wind's blowing the trees. That's something that I can really appreciate. Think of a story about your past when you've been at your best. What is that? What can you be grateful for when you've been at your best in the past? Maybe another prompt would be, what gives you hope right now? What gives you hope for the future? I think you probably get the idea, but those journaling prompts or those prompts, I hope will give you a place to start. So let me shift now from personal gratitude and personal appreciation to our organizations, because I think it's really important to make sure that we are expressing gratitude, expressing appreciation, and acknowledging people in our organization. And I don't care who you are, where you've come from, what your programming is. Every one of us really enjoys getting appreciated and having that be expressed to us. Now, I will say that it's really important to understand that some of us are, really will prefer to be acknowledged in public. Some of us, not so much. Some of us would rather be acknowledged or appreciated in private. And so as leaders, I want to encourage you to recognize how the people you're appreciating and acknowledging like to be acknowledged, because if somebody wants to be or prefers to be acknowledged in private and you do it publicly, it could actually backfire on you, and it could be something that has a negative effect as opposed to a generative or a positive effect. So the real point here is that everyone needs to be meaningfully acknowledged and appreciated, and everyone really enjoys that in some fashion. Now, what I want to share with you is a fundamental that is often in some of the clients that I work with in their culture statements or their behavior statements. We call them fundamentals. And I'm going to read it to you because I think it's really important to give an example of how this might look in practicality. So the fundamental is practice meaningful acknowledgement and appreciation. So that's the fundamental. So practice it. What does it mean? So the description then goes on and says, catching people doing things right is more effective than catching them doing things wrong. Regularly give, receive, and ask for meaningful acknowledgement and appreciation in all directions throughout the organization. One of the key words in the description here is meaningful, giving meaningful acknowledgement and appreciation. So what does that mean? Keeping something really meaningful is sometimes the challenge, but if we're going to do it and do it right, then it has to be honest. So I think it's probably obvious, but don't say it if it's not true. So meaningful acknowledgement has to be honest. It has to be timely. You can't do it a year later. It's one of the things that I've really, it's a pet peeve of mine when we have our quote unquote reviews annually. So who who can remember what happened a year ago or 9 months ago or 6 months ago? So make sure that your acknowledgement is timely. Make it, as close to when it happened as possible. The other thing it needs to be very specific. Just telling somebody, hey, Joe, good job, good job on the phone today. Well, what does that mean? It's not specific. General appreciation can come across as meaningless because, it doesn't mean anything if it's just, hey, good job. I don't know what I did. So being very specific is important. Now I'll give an example of what it means to have specific appreciation here in just a moment. And then lastly, it just needs to be tied to the impact of the business. So when I'm thinking about meaningful acknowledgement and appreciation within the context of my organization, I need to make sure that I'm tying it to something in the business. So let me give you an example of what this could sound like. Hey, Joe, you really handled that customer so well yesterday. Man, great job. It sounded like that customer was really, really upset with the situation that you were listening to, but you were really capable at helping them get their issue resolved, and you were really masterful at it. I heard that they just placed another order, so great work in creating customer loyalty for us. Do you see how it's honest, it's timely, it just happened yesterday, it's specific, and it's impactful. It's tying it to the loyalty of the organization or the customer loyalty to us. So honest, timely, specific, and impactful. So let me ask you this. How can you implement this practice in your own work? How might you be the source of acknowledgement and appreciation in your own organization? Maybe your own team. Maybe it's just in your own family. Gratitude goes a long way to foster tremendous energy in a company or team. When you regularly give, receive, and ask for meaningful appreciation and acknowledgement, it makes a huge difference in the energy and the momentum and the environment that you're in. Let me just say something too that it's so oftentimes I've heard leaders downplay an acknowledgement. So when you receive acknowledgement, it's really important to be able to just simply say, thank you. Thank you for noticing. That's not having a big ego. It really is just being able to receive that acknowledgement. So be ready to just say thank you when someone acknowledges you. So regularly give, receive, and ask for meaningful appreciation. It's okay to ask. It's okay to ask for that appreciation or ask for acknowledgement. Ask for feedback. So I hope this serves you well in thinking about gratitude, appreciation, and acknowledgement this week. Let me just simply express my own gratitude this week because I am truly grateful for you listening. I know I say it at the beginning of every episode, but it truly does mean a lot when you are giving your time of, listening to either me talk like today or me having a conversation with someone that has a really great growth story. I will say that it's so encouraging and gratifying even to get feedback from listeners who share with me the impact of an episode. That really is meaningful, and I really do appreciate that. And so anytime I get an email back with someone sharing something that they heard that was really useful and impactful, that's gratifying for me. I really do appreciate that. And I'm also so grateful for the many leaders that I get to serve. I feel like it's a very huge honor and a privilege to serve them by either being their coach, their confidant, and sometimes just even the facilitator, to being able to facilitate conversations to unlock the potential within themselves, within their teams, within their organization. And I do not take that position lightly. It it does fill me with so much sense of purpose and such a sense of gratitude as well. So I'm humbly grateful for those leaders that allow me to come alongside of them. I'm super grateful for all of the guests who've come on and shared their story with us and allowed us to see a little bit into their lives. And honestly, that is such an important part of growth, is seeing how other people have done it and being inspired by them. Each one of them has taught me something in our conversation together. And so I'm really very appreciative of that. And I'm really grateful that our guests have so openly shared with us their growth story. And then I guess finally, I'm really grateful for when listeners will take a moment and give a rating and review, because it does help us with the algorithm to be able to share these stories on a broader level. So I really do appreciate that, because when we can help other leaders and get more leaders like you to be impacted by the stories of growth, sometimes the teaching, the experience that I'm sharing, and just really challenging them to grow for themselves and really challenging them to grow their companies, it's meaningful, and it's why I do this podcast. So those are some of the top of mind thoughts that I'm really grateful for this week and in this time. So if you are here in the United States and you are celebrating the Thanksgiving holiday, I just want to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. I hope you get to spend it with people you love. And if you're listening outside of the United States and your country doesn't celebrate Thanksgiving at this particular week, I know we've got some friends in Canada who listen, and their Thanksgiving holiday was about a month ago, a little over a month ago. And but if you're listening and you don't celebrate as a whole country, you can express your gratitude. You can practice that gratitude by expressing your acknowledgement and appreciation for something in your life that has been meaningful. And so I hope that you'll do that this week. I hope that you'll express gratitude to others. I hope too that these prompts that I've given you have been helpful in you thinking about gratitude and focusing on that today. So thank you again for listening. And until next time, stay in that growth space and be well.